if you know, you two know Commander Dwayne Roby. He was the officer in charge of rank Haiti, and he's just back from 15 months there, and he's going to give a great presentation
for us. Okay. Well, thank y'all for coming. Like I say, we're just basically, this is a presentation I put together for the ops conference for most of it, and I've updated it, and I combined it with a brief I did for the force commander down with Manusta down there. So you'll be seeing a bunch of different slides. And we can go as fast or slow through this as you want. This is like 50-something slides, so I won't bore you in depth with all of them, but a lot of them mostly for just the pictures anyway. So, but we'll go through, and if y'all got any, I've got a question slide at the last, but if you've got any questions as we go along, just stop me and ask, and we'll talk about it as we go. And of course, this is the Haitian experience brief for y'all's lunch. I hope y'all got lunch. I thought I'd start off with a slide that actually Don provided. This gives you an idea of where all we're working in the Caribbean, and the Haiti projects are just part of that. But as you notice, the 62 block is bigger because most of the projects we've got in the Caribbean right now are this block of projects in Haiti. So, but that gives you an idea. I also threw it in because I figured that gives you a good idea of exactly where Haiti's at. You know, I'm not sure how many of y'all have visited Haiti, but we're right there, right at the other side of Cuba, and Haiti shares the island with the Dominican Republic, island of Hispaniola. As Don said, I was the rank officer down in assigned down in Haiti. I was there on some ADSW orders. That's fine for me. And I'm not the first one that was down there on ADSW orders. The rank office was actually established back in October 2010, and the first officer to go down was Lieutenant Commander Remy. He was actually on 6 months ADSW orders. And then they started, once his orders were up, they didn't have anybody to backfill on ADSW, so NAVFAC Southeast started having to take folks out of Hyde to send down. They sent down Lieutenant Commander Holcomb, then they sent down Lieutenant J.G. Paul Carlson, and then they sent down Commander Avant. And I kind of replaced Commander Avant down there. And like I said, I got down there last October, and just they extended, my orders were supposed to be 12 months, but they extended me for like 3 months. So.
Was Avant still the PWO when she went down there, or did she?
She actually had just rolled out. So that's so she rolled out as the PWO over at Kings Bay, and so she was, you know, she had some time, so they rolled her down. And actually, we were there concurrent because my orders rolled in. She got there the 1st of October. I kind of got there the last of October. So we were down there a couple of months together. You see the picture we got down there is when we visited up to the Citadel. So I'll talk about the Citadel a little later. That's where I took that picture. And hopefully, I was planning on trying to get everything finished while I was down there. But unfortunately, we still got projects rolling down there, or fortunate, depending on how you look at it. So Lieutenant J.D. Don Pasteur actually just rolled down at the end of November, and we did a 2-week turnover, so he's down there right now. I didn't get his picture updated on there, but he's the current rank down there, is Don Pasteur. All right. I don't know how familiar everybody is with Haiti, but I thought I'd start out with a little bit on the early history of Haiti and the country, and of course it's been occupied with humans for a long time. And the natives that were there, I guess, exactly when Columbus first discovered the island. I guess it wasn't discovered, it was there before he got there, but were the Tano Indians. And they were, you know, had a good culture going there when Europeans arrived. And Columbus did make landfall in Haiti in 1492. You know, they were saying it was during his first voyage across. He sailed across, hit the coast of Cuba first, and then came straight down and landed in Haiti next, I guess. Actually, he landed out, and I visited the place where he first came in. He came straight across from Quito and landed over here on the very tip.
Northern tip?
Yeah, the northern tip of Haiti. And then he sailed across the coast, and you notice I got La Navidad posted there because one of his ships, the Santa Maria, actually shipwrecked off the coast of, it's real close to current Camp Haitian. And he didn't have enough room on the ships to carry all the crew back, so they actually took the remains of the ship and built a little settlement there, and called it La Navidad because I guess it happened on Christmas Eve. So, it's actually the site's there close to Caracol, which we've been involved in a big industrial park at that right now. So if you go up there, you can kind of tell they don't have it really marked. But Columbus came back the next year to check on them. I guess they had a fallout with the local natives, and all of them were dead. So, so that was the first permanent settlement in the New World, but it didn't last very long. And after that, he decided to move over, and the next settlement they did on Hispaniola was actually over in the DR. So
They were dead because they were murdered?
yeah.
No.
Yeah, from what they gathered, I guess the Europeans didn't have a lot of respect for the local Indians, and they started mistreating some of them, and I guess they had enough of it, and they killed them all. So, some more Haitian history. You may have, like on the Pirates of the Caribbean, everything you hear talk about Tortuga, sailing for Tortuga. Well, that's actually an island right off the coast of Haiti, right up here, and it's what the term buccaneer was first coined up there. And actually, that island, they had, I guess, a lot of goats and cattle that were roaming free. So a lot of the buccaneer was a term they used for the guys were catching the cattle and they were tanning the leather off of it. And a lot of pirate activity in that area. So some real pirates that were up there. Henry Morgan was there. Actually stayed down in a little island off the south coast called Illavache, and there's a hotel down there named after Morgan. And another French pirate was also known to use it a lot. So if you're into pirate history, there's a lot of that in Haiti. The Treaty of Ryswick in 1697, of course, after Columbus, he kind of claimed the island for Spain. Spain used it, and they kind of withdrew from the I guess western end of it, kind of consolidated most of their stuff over the current Dominican Republic, and French started kind of moving in from Tortuga down to the north, and kind of had already settled on the western part of Haiti. And then after the current battles they were all fighting between Spain, France, and everything, they did this treaty, and they formally divided the country into thirds. So the western third they ceded to France in 1697. So that's why still to this day the Dominican side, Spanish-speaking, French side, the Haitian side was basically French influence, and of course the local language is Creole, but their second major language is French in Haiti.
Is there a common language that they share, or is it really
No,
divided?
it's divided. So it was a French colony from that point on. It was the French really took it to heart. It became really the pearl of the Antilles. They shipped huge amounts of sugar, rum, coffee. They started importing slaves in the late 1800s. Said I had over 500,000 slaves there on the island working these plantations. And so Haiti was one of the big ports that they used to take all this stuff back to Europe. And France actually made lots of money off of that colony that they had. It was their biggest producing colony. Of course, when Spain had it, they didn't use it as much because they were more concentrated on their efforts in South America. They kind of used it as a waypoint. But when the French took it over, they really developed it and started using it. In 1804, they started to fight for independence against the French. And so they won their independence fighting all three countries. They fought Spain, they fought France, and the English decided at one point to come in, okay, to try to take it as well. So if you go around the island, you'll find areas where they had battles with France, Spain, and England in their war for independence. And actually really came up because of the French Revolution. In the French Revolution, you had all the ideas of liberty, and they were even talking about freeing all the slaves. And the guy that actually organized and fought, Louverture, it's kind of their George Washington type figure down there. His idea wasn't necessarily to break from France. He wanted to be a province of France. But after Napoleon kind of took over, the attitudes kind of changed. And Napoleon came over and invited Louis Tour back over, and when he got back to France, they imprisoned him, and he died in prison over there. So one of his generals took over, and he basically declared independence, and they fought and won. So they're the first black republic and the second oldest republic in the world. And after they fought, the guy that took over kind of took all of Haiti, but there's a lot with Haitian history. There's always been a lot of political intrigue down there. So that guy actually, two of his generals, well, supposedly, had him killed, and they kind of split the country in half. And, where the citadel was, Henry Christophe kind of dubbed himself King of the North, and then Pétion was the guy that controlled all the southern part of the country. So for a while there, the country was actually split between different parts of Haiti. And then the guy that took over after Pétion died reunited Haiti and also went in and took over the Dominican Republic. So for many years, Haiti controlled the whole island of Hispaniola until the Dominicans refought and regained their independence on the western or the eastern 2/3 of the island. Some other interesting parts about it. They say Louis Tour was one of the ones of 750 that they sent over that actually fought in the American Revolution. So we did have, well, they were French at the time, I guess. They weren't quite Haiti yet. But they did have people from Haiti that came over and fought in the American Revolution. And you can see down in Savannah, that's where they fought the Battle of Savannah. There's a marker that talks about that. Other interesting things, if you're a big history buff on Simon Bolivar, he got a lot of support from Haiti. He came over and actually spent time on the island after he got kicked out of South America for a while. He regrouped his stuff, and the Haitians sent down forces to help him liberate parts of South America. We didn't actually recognize Haiti's independence until 1862, and of course that was because we still had slavery going on here. We didn't really like the idea of free black slaves running the country. So, but after the Civil War, we did finally go ahead and recognize Haiti as independent country. We actually went down and occupied Haiti, occupied them from 1915 to 1934. They sent, somebody hit that for me over there. We sent the Marines in, and actually a lot of the roads and stuff that are currently in operation were built during this period. And of course, we did it because we had a lot of U.S. interest in the area, and he's always, as I said before, had a kind of a bloody history of changing dictators or changing governments, and so I think it was Wilson sent the Marines in down there to kind of stabilize the country for our interest, and we were down there for a good while. And I guess actually it was a pretty stable period, but you know, we were an occupying force at the time. All right, other things about history, about Haitian, the geography. Haiti actually means mountainous country in the native Taino language. And if you get down there and you go around in Haiti, you know why it's called mountainous, because the whole country is basically covered in mostly mountains. It's about the size of Maryland. It's a population of about 10 million people. And at least a third of those live in Port-au-Prince. And that's one part of the problems they've got is Port-au-Prince is a city. The infrastructure is built for maybe 500,000 people, and so you got at least probably 6 to maybe 10 times that amount in the city. So it's very crowded, and situation's not real great at Port-au-Prince. It's divided into 10 political subdivisions, you know, and I talk about on another slide about the political upheavals they have, and they're prone for natural disasters. They get hit by hurricanes quite often. They have two different fault lines that run throughout the country, so they're very earthquake prone as well.
You say 10 departments, is that like 10 states or 10 political factions?
Yeah, 10 like states. Okay. It's I don't know if I don't know if your map shows no, I guess it doesn't really show all the departments. But that becomes important for us because we're building our EOCs and DOWs, one per each department. So that's really why we're building the number we're building.
Now, do those 10 departments like answer to the president of the country?
Yeah, and it's really, yeah, the way they're set up, they have a president, they have a Congress. It's not exactly like our system, but each of the departments actually have what they call a delegate that I work with quite a bit, and he's like the president's representative out in that department. So they don't have like separate governors or anything of their departments, but the federal government sends out people to help kind of manage it. And then you deal with the delegates, and then the next subdivision is really the cities with the mayors.
So they still have to follow Haitian laws, not like they can develop their own laws and stuff
That's
like
correct.
that?
Yeah, no, they're all under one government. Laws as they be in Haiti.
What's their major industry? And do those 5 or 6 million Haitians in Port-au-Prince actually have any gainful employment? Or?
That's a good question. Haiti used to, like I said, back in the day, they exported a huge amount of stuff overseas. Right now, they import almost everything they have. They have some agriculture up in the Ghanaese area. They grow a lot of rice up into there. They still grow some sugar cane. They make a good bit of rum and stuff. But actually, most everything is imported. They used to have a big refinery and stuff there in Port-au-Prince. They privatized that and they closed it down. Like I say, now instead of feeding their own people, they import most of the stuff from the States. So for a while there, the textiles, they used to make almost all the world's baseballs there in Haiti. Was a lot of industry in there, that type of manufacturing industry, with using some of the cheap labor. But we really killed that when we did put the embargo on them. Back after Aristide was kicked out, the U.S. put an embargo for Haiti, and all that industry left. And so right now they're working to try to reestablish some stuff. Like I say, we do have the big industrial park up in Caracol. Sherwin-Williams has got a subsidiary that's going to start doing some painting up there, and they're really pushing to start getting some industry in. But right now, it's most of the, most of the people you see are subsistence. They're living day to day. They're going over to DR, getting stuff, selling it. It's not any real major industry, so a lot of unemployment within the country. So I don't know if that answered it, but that's basically the situation we got down there.
And it was like that pre-earthquake too, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the earthquake just kind of exacerbated the problem that they have.
I think if we've lifted our trade embargo.
Yes, we don't. Yeah, that's. I don't know how familiar you are with recent Haitian history, but they had an election after Duvalier was in. He kind of declared himself president for life, and after he died, his son took over power. But he kind of weakened down. They had kind of almost like a military coup, and they went back and they elected Aristide. And after Aristide was in office a couple of years, they had another military coup and kicked him out. And the U.S. Rightly or wrongly, we said, well, he was the democratically elected official. Y'all shouldn't have kicked him out. So we put the embargo on, and we put a lot of pressure on him to bring Aristide back. He did. They did finally bring him back, and they sent the MINUSTA forces in, which we'll talk about a little later, because they disbanded the army down there after the coups. And but after we got him back down there, from what I've heard and read, he got in bed really heavy with a lot of the drug trafficking folks, and there was a lot of drugs going through there. So I don't know if we helped to hurt the situation by bringing him back. So, but anyway, but that be that as it may, and one of his Proval was in office when the earthquake hit, and he was a successor for Aristide, and in the same party that he was. And currently, Martelli's got power right now. He's the president. I don't know if y'all listen to Haitian music, but he was an entertainer. He's called him Sweet Mickey, and he's the current president of Haiti.
Wasn't there a guy, a musician from here that was born there to try to run? Was it with the Foo Fighters?
Wyclef John?
Yeah.
Yeah, Haitian laws are kind of funny because and that's one thing they kept bringing up against Martelli, because they kept, and even Ambassador Merton, when I was down there, went on TV down there, and he brought out his Haitian passports, because I guess the law is if you've ever had another passport anywhere else, you're not eligible to run for office down there. So they were trying to push for Martelli to be kicked out of office because they kept saying he had American citizenship. But the ambassador went on TV and said he didn't. So, so you know, and he brought out all of his Haitian passports. But yeah, so yeah, they may have been somebody tried to run, but he may have problems if he's ever had another passport under the current laws. But yeah, right. Yeah, politics down there is very interesting. I'm not sure I really ever understood it while I was there, but I mean, I heard a lot of people talking about it, and it's a big subject with the Haitian people. They're very interested in their political system, and that's part of what you see on the political upheavals. The way they get people's attention is they go out and burn tires, they close down roads, you know, and it does get folks' attention. These slides I'm talking about working with others. The Roink office down there, one of the big things we work with is they gave me basically an office out of the U.S. Embassy. We're working with the MLO down there, Military Liaison Office. But the embassy's a really nice structure. It was built in 2008, $85 million. It was not affected at all by the earthquake. You know, most of the damage we saw from the earthquake was due to the construction standards they have in the country or lack thereof. The embassy weathered it fine. But it's a really nice facility. It matches a lot of other embassies if you go in, the cap structure it is. I don't know if
you just replace an embassy that we already had there? Or was
we had an embassy that was close to the palace downtown Port-au-Prince. Mm-hmm. They built it out in the Tabari area now, so it's kind of a little bit away from the downtown area.
It's a good call building it 2 years before.
Yep. It was, yeah. But yeah, so it's a relatively new structure and a nice facility that we have down there. And we're lucky that they let the Roink office help use it.
Now, do you reside here too?
I've got on the slide to show where I live, but actually the embassy, when I first got down there, was renting out a little compound from the Handel family down there. So we called it Handel, but it's about a half a mile towards Patientville from the airport. They run shuttles back and forth 3 or 4 times a day to the embassy. And it's a real nice gated type facility. So when I was first down there, I did go down there after the earthquake as part of the Joint Task Force, and I was down there for about 45 days or so. And when I was there, I did live on a tent on embassy grounds the first time. But luckily, the last year, I haven't been in a tent. I've been out, out in on the economy. Here, like I spoke about the MLO. And they provide a lot of support for us, and you know, they like to take care of our berthing. They did we also deal with customs a lot in the embassy, and I can talk about that a lot. Put some pictures up here of some of the guys. Actually, I got the picture up here is of Commander John Reed. He's actually rolled out. Commander Richard Tipton's down there now. They're both commanders, but they're Coast Guard guys. And the reason they send a Coast Guard guy down there is because Haiti doesn't have, as I mentioned, they don't have an army right now. The only branch of service they have is their Coast Guard. So the MLO officer down there and the senior defense official is always a coastie right now. And those guys have worked real good with us.
You said, are they trying to reorganize an army?
They are trying to reorganize the army. Martelli's came out, and I think he's kind of in support of that. I don't know how that's going to go. I'm not sure we're supporting it. That's right. I'm not sure we're supporting that at this current time. But there is a movement within Haiti to try to reestablish their army. They're really getting tired of MINUSTA being there for security. So yeah. So they're talking about that. They haven't yet though, and they definitely don't. The embassy doesn't want the MLO talking to anybody that's talking about reestablishing it, because you can get rumors really started easily in the country that you know, we're trying to reestablish an army down there. When they see the Marines roll in, they think we're reoccupying again, and stuff like that. So and then that's another thing. You know, when I first went down there, I was wearing my uniform most of the time, but we got the word from the ambassador that they really wanted to downplay the military presence there. So for the last probably 8 to 10 months I was down there, I would probably, you know, only wear my uniform when I was dealing with somebody that I thought I needed it. Most of the time I was in civilian clothes, because they wanted to kind of downplay the military that we do have in Haiti.
And when you say you wore uniform to dealing with somebody, what is?
Yeah, like I say, you know, if I had to go talk to somebody at MINUSTA, or I was dealing with somebody within the Haitian government, I thought the rank would help.
Okay.
Yeah, I would wear the uniform. The rest of the time I would just be in civilian clothes. Don't get a lot of support from these folks here. There's a picture of us all out in front of the embassy. Other folks we work with, as the rank officer down there, you have a real close relationship. Oh, and I want to point out one guy is Sergeant First Class LaForest. He's actually down there as a TDY2. Southcom sent him down as a HAP manager, and he works very closely with us on getting. He's one that went out and got all these land titles for the property we're building, and he works very closely with us on these projects. So when I say we're working with the government of Haiti, it's usually Sergeant LaForest that's actually dealing with them, or at least he was my liaison with him, because he's Haitian American. Don Pasteur, who's down there now, is our rank, is also Haitian American. So at least they speak the language. When I was there, I didn't speak Haitian, I didn't speak Creole, and I don't speak French. So I had to have an interpreter whenever I talked to someone. A lot of the folks do speak English, but much better than I speak Creole anyway. But we dealt with the president himself, the first lady, while I was down there. We deal with most of the ministers. They have the DPC is their Department of Civil Protection. We dealt with them a lot for the emergency operations centers around the country. We dealt with the Minister of Interior, Health, Justice, Finance. A lot of times dealing with the ministries in Haiti. I talked a little bit about MINUSTA before. They, like I said, they were sent in 2004. They're there basically to maintain security in Haiti. 55 countries, 12,000 or so people there. There are some Navy military also that gets sent down to help out with MINUSTA. I think there was 8 Navy guys that were there. They come over and spend some time in the embassy, of course. But as far, they're not there to help us. They're there to help MINUSTA do their job for peace and fortune.
Has a presence even close to what we have down there?
Oh yeah. The biggest ones are the South American countries. You got I think the force commanders from. Oh man, they speak Portuguese. He speaks Portuguese, so maybe it's I forgot what country. Maybe it's Brazilians. Yeah, they have a huge contingent down there. The Koreans have a lot of folks. Like I said, it's 55 different countries, so a lot of different folks have a lot of people working down there. Like I say, I interfaced with them and talked to them. I went over and briefed out the force commander on what we were doing and everything. But as far as they have MINUSTA bases in a lot of the cities where we're putting these things, so we had some interplay with them. But we tried to minimize our interplay with them because these are what we're building are not military installations in any shape or form. So we didn't want to get the idea that we were building these for MINUSTA. So. Talk about the support we get from here. I mean, I had great support from the FAC here. Don was here. Lindsay and Ashley for the acquisition side, IPT. The design team up here on the design thing. A lot of support because when you think of a rank office, you think if I was a normal rank officer, I'd have a contracting staff, I'd have engineers, I'd have guys working for me down there. It's basically just me down there, other than the guys we got from the Seaport E contract. So most all the other support I needed was reach back support here, and they did a great job for me while I was down there, for sure. Like I say, for the CMET support, instead of hiring folks to go down, we used the Seaport E contract to, I still got Mike's name up here too, I guess I should think now.
I had a picture.
Yeah, and that's right. Lindsay was down in Haiti, right? You went down, so that's a picture. But we do have these guys here you see are the Seaport E contractors down here. Like I say, they're down there basically working his eyes and ears out in the field. These guys are out on the road all the time, going from site to site, visiting the sites at least probably once every week or two. I might get out to the site once a month, but these guys are out there looking for us. And it's worked very well down there, I would say. The contractors we were dealing with, we've got 5 different contractors that got contracts there. 2 American firms, 1 Israeli firms, and 2 Haitian firms. So it's been, well, that was another interesting aspect about it, working with the different nationalities of contractors that we had working on the sites. Like I say, all these projects were for Southcom humanitarian assistance projects, and that slide just tells you a little bit about what that program is, in case you're not familiar with it. I'm not going to try to read it to you, but you know, that's basically down there. It's there to, in my estimation, we're there to help provide support to the country, to let them know we're helping them out, and basically by what influence we can with the government down there. Of course, particularly what Southcom's doing now is most of their effort in humanitarian assistance is in disaster relief type areas. So, like when we sent the Joint Task Force down in 2010 after the earthquake, hopefully a lot of what we're doing now would minimize the amount of people we would have to send down in the future, and at least give the Haitians a chance to have the first responder type effort to a disaster. So, the projects themselves, there's 20 different contracts, 62 different projects on 22 different sites. We spent about $34 million worth of effort down there, and this tells you the type of projects we've got, which we'll go into that in depth on the other slide. But like I say, we're building an emergency operations center and disaster relief warehouse in each department. One of those projects, the Port-au-Prince project, was already finished. NAVFAC didn't do that. Actually, I thought it was the Army Corps, but the Army Corps didn't actually build it. It was the Army, I guess Army South, a contracting branch out of Army Command that actually put it in. I went and looked at it when I first went down in 2010 after the earthquake, and I don't think they did a whole lot of quality control or inspection on it, because when we went over and looked at it, I think we were the first ones to go over, and I had a lot of comments on it, I'll put it that way, but it is up and running. it was up and running, and they've been using it quite effectively since it went online in 2010.
Now, are these like normal projects? Will we provide, you know, the contract provide like a year or 2 of warranty issues, or once we turn it over, it's done?
Yeah, we get a 1-year warranty on them, so it'll have the normal 1-year construction warranty on it.
And then we won't provide any other maintenance throughout the years?
No, and that's another issue we can talk about, because when the 4-star came down, Southcom, you know, I went in and talked to him and briefed him, and his big questions weren't on the projects or how we were doing on the construction. It was how we were going to sustain them. And that's become a big piece of it down here. Southcom's big concern right now is sustainment. Since we're getting close to getting them all turned over, or going to be getting close to turning them over here in the next 3 or 4 months, their next big question is how the Haitians going to maintain them, how they're going to staff it, how they process. They're getting USAID involved, and USAID was supposed to be putting a sustainment plan together. But when they came in asking them about it, we kind of got the old CB salute. So Southcom got really involved. It twirled up, and it got people involved all the way up into DC level of those organizations on how they were going to handle it. And actually, Southcom sent in some planners down. They went down last week to help them develop the sustainment plan and look at it. So they're still working it, I'd say.
And so these projects will be turned over to the department that is built in location? Or?
Yeah, well, actually, we're going to be turning them over to the Haitian ministries probably. So like the EOC's DRW will get turned over to DPC under the Minister of Interior. The clinics will get turned over to Minister of Health. Okay. And then, like say, the fire stations, the fire departments down there now are currently under the Haitian Police Force. So they currently we get turned over to the Minister of Justice. But there's some talk about rolling those fire stations and that whole effort over to the Interior and tied in with their Department of Civil Protection. Sure. So, but right now it's all under Justice. Okay, this gives you an idea where our projects all are. This is probably the next one. This gives you the EOCs, DRWs, and their clusters. And really, I just stuck those in here, and we'll talk about it later, each individual area. But it just gives you an idea that we've got projects throughout the country of Haiti, all over the place. Everything from all the way at Abrico on the very southern tip, all the way up to Port-au-Prince at the north, down to Hinch in the middle, down to Jacmel. Every place in Haiti, basically, we've got projects working, which is good. Which is good as a rank officer down there, because Haiti's a very beautiful country, but you got to kind of get out of Port-au-Prince to see that. So it's nice to get out and be able to do a lot of traveling while you're down in the country.
So I assume traveling is one of your biggest concerns, just the infrastructure?
Yeah, logistics and travel is probably one of the big challenges down
What
there.
about security as you're going out to these mountainous areas? If you travel by yourself, you travel with an armed guard? What?
Well, the embassy has a rule, a 2-car rule. You know, we had access to weapons down there. They issued me a 9mm whenever I wanted to check it out. And we were supposed to travel in pairs. So, you know, if one car broke, you'd have somebody get back in. But truthfully, the year I was there, or the 14 months I was there, I didn't really have any security. And I got where I wasn't even that concerned, you know. There's still a lot of crime in it, but most of it's in the heavily populated areas like Port-au-Prince. So you have to be careful in that area. That's where you go, and we'll talk about. There's another slide in here that kind of talks about that. But once you get out in the countryside, you're really not that. Other than if you get caught up in some kind of disturbance, you know, if they're burning tires and you try to break through the lines, or you know, stuff like that. You know, just use common sense. You usually keeps you out of trouble.
That's what I'm thinking about. Okay.
Or you know, so yeah, it wasn't that big a concern. We always kind of took a weapon with us if we, you know, and when we traveled, and we tried to travel in pairs. LaForia usually rode with me most of the time, and then we'd be meeting the ET and the CMs out there. But they're traveling every week in a single car, riding, you know, riding around, and not armed at all. No. And you know, there is quite a bit of kidnappings in the country, but typically. Typically that's you're more at danger if you're a Haitian American, or you know, that way when they kidnap you, they can get with your family in the country and have a better chance of getting the money. They did take a couple of Caucasians while I was down there, but it was mostly people that were in the wrong place at the wrong time, probably areas they shouldn't be. So you know, if you're kind of careful and you kind of know where to go and where not to go, you're pretty well safe. Well, my CM and ET in the north, Greg and Steve, that I showed you a picture of, they're both Haitian American. They were coming back into Port-au-Prince one day, and the road was closed. They got rerouted down through City Soleil, and they got robbed. So 6 people with weapons stepped out in front of the car, got them get out. They took their laptops, they took everything they had, put them back in their car, and sent them on their way. But you know, they weren't. Luckily, I guess they weren't kidnapped, and they weren't physically hurt, but they did get robbed. So it's something you have to be concerned with. But if you kind of use common sense, you can keep yourself fairly safe in the country. All right, like I talked about, this is just going to be some pictures of the different type stuff. The first thing I think we talked about is emergency operations centers, and these are going to be used in each department to relay areas and give them a common area to control disasters that might come up within the country. As you notice, all the buildings that we're putting up are basically slab on grade, pre-engineered building structures. So, the disaster relief warehouse is going to be a place for them to store disaster supplies in each department.
Now these are, utilities. Is local power, connected sewer, septic?
Most all areas, there's no local sewer there. We put septic systems in at all of them. We drill wells at most sites. Water has been one of our areas of concern. There's several sites that when we did drill a well, we hit briny water. So we had to come up with other solutions on the situation. But, that's another thing that LaForia is pushing for. The Haitian government had promised in their MOU when we started building all this that they were going to bring power to all these sites. Of course, we're getting them built now. They don't have power to all the sites, but you know, that's another sustainment type issue they're working. Some of the sites do have, all of them are going to have generators, and that's what most people, even if they got power to the sites, most areas of the country don't have power 24/7. They kind of turn it on, they turn it off during the day. So they'll use their generators. Now the concern we've got, is, we're not going to provide diesel fuel for them to run the generator, so if they don't have diesel fuel, if they don't keep it maintained, the generators may not run very long. Go ahead.
Did you ever discuss using renewable energy?
They did, and I think there was a talk about putting some solar panels up on some of them, and I think there was an NGO that talked about maybe going back and doing that. We didn't put that in any of the projects, though, actually. And you see a lot of solar panels being used down there, but most of the areas that we've got, we wouldn't have enough panels that we could put up that would really help them run the whole facility. It might give them a little bit of power.
Is the power grid system in Port-au-Prince reliable, or is it?
like I say, fairly reliable, but almost everybody has generators. So it runs part of the day, they cut it on part of the time. The system's kind of state run. I think how do I put this? Not a lot of people pay for power down there. You go down the streets and you'll see people up on poles. I'm an electrical engineer by training, and I just cringed when I went by and see how they tied in all this stuff. And you'd see guys up on poles, they'd be working it. They don't know if it's live or not. They wouldn't have any safety equipment. You know, it's pretty scary when you're out around see the way the electrical grid is put together in general. And a lot of people they throw wires across it. They take power when they need it, basically. So it's hard for them to. So what the power company does, they just cut the power on and off, and you know, kind of at will. Yeah. So yeah.
I mean, is it like an intentional rotating blackout so they can meet load, or is it just?
I don't know the answer to that. I've never seen any schedule or anything on it. Just comes on and off kind of at random as far as I could tell. But
I think air conditioning's not real big down there.
Well, a lot of the buildings do have it. And a lot of the business have it. But a lot of people that are running it have their own generators that, you know, they keep it going. Like you could always, at the compound we were at Handel, twice a day the power would always blink because they were changing generators over, like 9 in the morning, 9 at night. So I don't know if they were ever run off of the grid power, or they just, that's the time the grid power went off and they went on generators. But it happened pretty well. Twice a day I could almost set my clock by it.
So the price of diesel is about $4 a gallon here. How much is it down there?
Well, I bought it several times, but it's by the liter down there, so it's hard for me to really tell. I think it was more like prices you'd see in Europe, so it's going to be about twice what we pay here. But I was able to buy a card at the embassy and fill up at the embassy. So most of the time I would just go buy a card, and so I didn't really keep up with gas prices unless I was out somewhere and had to fill up to get back. So, but it is more expensive than we've got down here. Community centers we built, and there's 8, one at each cluster for the community centers, and those will probably be turned over actually to the mayors. We did bring some Red Cross folks down. They're talking about using those to do health education and other things within the country, as well as maybe use it during emergencies. We got 6 of the site had medical clinics, and of course they actually had a little apartment built on the back of each of them, so they could send a doctor out to stay there if they needed to and have a place to
Now, are we going to
live.
put anything in the community centers like pool tables?
We're not. We actually did a mod, and we furnished the EOCs and we furnished the fire stations with furniture. All the other stuff, Southcom sending some stuff down. So like for the community centers down in Lakai, we've already got a load come in, and there's a whole bunch of stuff they put in there. So they're doing it out of excess equipment, other things. They're sending a bunch of stuff down, but it wasn't in our contracts to furnish it. Now they did ask for pool tables in the fire stations, but I think our acquisition folks says we couldn't buy that kind of stuff. So that's it. So, but they were talking about trying to put some in there. Also at the community centers, we're doing schools, either 5, 6, or 8 classroom schools, depending on, some of them are adjacent to other schools. And the school system down there, these schools will be really, really needed. And we also put latrines, hand wash stations at all of them, particularly to be used by the school as well as the community center when folks are there.
Hey, Dwayne, latrine's not a Navy term, man. What do you got latrine up there?
I don't know. It's hard to put a head, I guess. It's more like a latrine.
Southcom is an Army-centric
Command, that's
they labeled it.
But when we first went down there, and this is something I guess when the captain came down and noted, we had first built them as true latrine, where it was just a pit latrine basically, where we just put a concrete trench in there, and we were going to let them use the bathroom in there, and eventually they'd have to clean it out. But we did go back and we actually put septic systems on all of them before I left, so they got flushable toilets in it, yeah, as long as they can keep them going. And we did put wells, like I said, at all the sites, even though some of the sites the wells didn't give us potable water. So.
Were small RO systems considered Better to try to clean out the well more?
We did. We considered it, but I think they were going to be a little more expensive, and they were concerned that with maintenance on them and keeping them running. So I think one of the ones that at the hot site, which you'll see when we did it, it's a little small community, and it's one of the areas where they grow a lot of the rice, so there's a lot of canals running through there to feed the rice fields. So we were able to pull water from the canals and run it through a treatment system to use water there. The other areas we're probably going to have to end up putting a cistern in, and they're going to have to bring water in to put in the cistern and have enough to where they can, fill their tanks 5 or 6 times, yeah, so we'll have to truck it in. And
they have like filter systems, but not something you call RO, is that an accurate statement? I thought we had filters.
We do have, but that's just a water treatment system, but it's not going to do anything with the salt. But yeah,
okay.
Right. Yeah, we put in treatment systems in where they can feed chlorine in. They can, it's got the filtration, but it's basically just for sediment and for, the chlorine will be for killing biologicals. Wouldn't be anything to treat the water unless we put an RO system or some kind of distilling system in or something.
So if you're having a problem with getting fresh water, how do these people live out there with?
I think they truck water. They basically have to go get the water from the area. That's what I've heard. Port Pay was one. They said that the whole area, they always when they drill they get briny water, so they have to have the water hauled in. Or you see a lot of people out on the road, and a lot of kids especially, walking around with water jugs on their head. So they go wherever they can get the water from, and they hand carry it a lot. So.
Was the water considered potable after chlorination?
Yeah, we required them to give us a water test on all this stuff. And so, yeah, we ensured we had potable water once we got through the system. So.
Don, we were talking about earlier when you were outside, one of Southcom's issues right now, talking about sustainment and maintenance programs. Do you foresee Southcom supporting that in the out years, whether it's contract personnel, money, 8, 10, 12 years?
Supporting this?
The maintenance and sustainment of the stuff that we just...
No, that's one of the stuff that Southcom basically told USAID that they had no money in their budgets and they weren't planning on doing maintenance in the future. So they're planning on building this and they're going to turn it over, and
okay.
Well,
aid and other folks are going to have to
just so
support
you
it.
understand, Southcom, what they normally do before any humanitarian assistance project, because they say we're not in the sustainment maintenance business, they get a written agreement from the host nation saying you're going to, or other agencies such as USAID, whoever, say you'll take care of sustainment issues after we build it for you. Having said that, yes, their heart gets broken a lot. But they did go into this with the anticipation that no, Southcom wouldn't do it.
The intent for the buildings is to have minimal maintenance.
Right. Yeah, we tried to make them as simple as possible when we were building them, but like the generators, if you don't maintain them, they're not going to run. Okay, fire stations.
Mark has
I'm sorry, go ahead.
Since it's on an island, how do they manage the solid waste?
That's a good question too. As far as I know, there's no large-scale treatment facility that I saw on the island. So most people just go where they go. You'll be riding down the road. People will be urinating, even squatted on the side of the road. I mean, there's no good way to handle waste there in Haiti. That's a big problem they've got. That's probably the problem they got. They had the cholera come in. And talked to a lot of folks from CDC that was coming in, and they tested the waters throughout the country. In a lot of places they had because they don't have the correct sanitation, they had problems with the water.
By solid waste, did you mean sewage or garbage?
Garbage.
Oh, garbage, yeah, and that's another thing. Most of the garbage you see ends up on the road. Right? People throw it out. They do have some areas that they are picking up now. Some of the cities are running garbage trucks, which is good. And I saw like 2 areas. I don't really know what they do with the garbage, other than I do see a couple of areas where they're just starting to mound it up, and it'll be burning all the time. But nothing like I could run in my city at home. They don't have dozers out there covering it. It's not lined. It's
like
not.
This pre-earthquake, or like this happened?
Well, I didn't get out enough to really know about the waste before the earthquake, but I'm assuming it's the same. It's just the islands is nice, but before they can develop their tourism and stuff, they're going to have to figure out the solid waste as well as the sanitary waste problems they've got to handle them. Because now most of this trash gets thrown in the streets. Big rains, they all get washed down into their canals, which causes them
Even
flood
in the
problems.
rural areas, Dwayne, not just Port-au-Prince?
It's better in the rural areas, and there's a couple of cities like Port Salut and stuff where tourism is better, that's real clean. So it can be better, but normally, yeah, people just don't, It's not like they got garbage, they don't, not like you can put the garbage out on the street and then somebody picks it up.
No
Yeah, it's like, nobody, that's right. It's not like I do at home, Nobody comes and gets it for them. Okay, I'm just going to go quickly through some of the sites we've got in the Port-au-Pay area. We've got actually 5 different fire stations going in, Port-au-Pay fire stations, Carrefour, Croix de Bouquet, Delmas, and Patienville. I left this picture in. It's actually been cleared here, but one of the problems we dealt with at the Carrefour site was there was an IDP camp already on the site, and our contractor was delayed because they were having to figure out where they were going to send the folks and get the site cleared.
IDP is internally displaced persons.
Personnel, so yeah. Because after the earthquake, there's these all over the city, and it's actually getting better now. You're starting to see a lot of them disappear, but we did deal with that some on our sites. The other pictures of the Port-au-Prince site, we had a couple of sites where we had soil problems on, and this was one of them, and we're dealing with it through a mod right now.
Were they contaminated or something?
No, it was basically just an area they had used to. It was field area. So there was really no good bottom to it when they started doing the soil sampling. So we had to go with a mat slab solution that would kind of spread the load out. Lakai, which is basically finished up. These are the clusters up there. We already did the final inspection. The contractor's all done. The only thing we're waiting on is to do the ribbon cutting on that one. We also did Lakai. We had EOC and DRW there. That's some pictures there. We're also building a fire station there. If you've got any questions on these, let me know. We're going to go quick.
These buildings, what are they rated? What, category 3 for hurricane? Like 120, 125, something like that?
Yeah, well, I think it kind of depended on the area that they were being built in, but we'll build them to the whatever standard was. Right, whatever area code it was required for there.
The structural guys had some criteria where, the way I understood it, had to survive like a 1700-year storm, which is big.
No kidding.
Right.
And the map they showed me, basically, the further south, the higher the risk of, the higher the rating there for the buildings. Right. The more north, the lower the rating.
So yeah, but all these were built to with the area hurricane as well as earthquake standards for there. So.
Like these community centers, would they normally be air conditioned or?
No, the community centers don't have air conditioning. They put ceiling fans in them. Right. But you roll down the windows, turn the fans on, and circulate air through them. Actually, it works fairly well there. The school's the same way. We didn't put air conditioning in those. We put a ceiling fan in the teacher's room. The only ones that really got any air conditioning in it for the clusters were the medical clinics. And I think there was 2 or 3 rooms there that they did put the AC in.
I would presume, as far as standards went, we tried to build them to at least international building code.
That's right. It called for international building code standards in our thing. So. Jeremy, there's some pictures of the Jeremy projects at Aberco. If you look on the map, Aberco's pretty close to Jeremy up there, but it takes about 2 hours to get out there because the road's so bad. To get from Lakai up to Jeremy is at least a 4-hour ride. So as we talked before, logistics and getting around to the projects is a big concern there. Mirror guns, kind of in the middle of the southern claw. What you see here, it's sitting right on a big lake. So that's not that's actually it's the inland lake on it, and buildings have been delivered there now. Go ahead.
Do they have cellular phone service down there?
Say again now?
Do they have cellular phone service down there?
Oh yes, cell service actually after the earthquake, Digicel, big company, came in and they basically you can get cell service almost anywhere on the island now, or at least the Haiti side.
Like data too, like 4G or not?
Well.
Data, I should say, not 4G.
Yeah, because I had a BlackBerry, so I could get my email almost anywhere I was at throughout Haiti. So that has improved since the earthquake. Before that, I think they had problems with the cell service, and they had a couple local carriers that they had down there. But now it's pretty well. And Digicel's basically bought out most everybody else down there. So when I first got down there was 2 or 3 companies you could go with, but now I think Digicel's basically bought everybody out.
There's just cell towers all across the land.
Yeah, a lot of cell towers.
I have
you
an
see.
interesting article that if you're concerned, but because it was saying that of all the failed industries, amazingly Digicel and the cellular industry is an amazingly successful, one of the few successful industries in Haiti.
Right.
Well, it can make them appealing. I mean, the one on 17, you go towards I-10, the one that looks like a pine tree, and that's really cool. So
Right.
it's possible.
Yeah, but yeah, even as poor as the Haitian people are, almost everybody down there has a cell phone. So they go buy a couple, they buy minutes. They don't buy a plan, but they go buy minutes and do it.
Type thing.
Yeah. So you'll see a lot of people have cell phones down there. So the Jackmel area, as you notice, here's the site. I left that one in there. It doesn't look like that anymore. That's when we started building on it. But that's the site right before we started on it. It was probably our prettiest site. You went down there, right, Lindsay, to Jackmel. Nice area. Here's one of the ones where we did the ribbon cuttings at. That's I didn't have a picture of Commander Tipton, but there he is cutting the ribbon down at EPG, one of the schools.
Any other countries that are building stuff like this, like you'll see?
Yeah,
Israeli, so they're all that just like we did?
Yeah, actually, Dominica has built a big university up on the north, close to Caracol. If you go up there, it's really nice. It's finished. There's a lot of other countries working. The Canadians do a lot of stuff down there. So yeah, there's other people working other than us down there.
Is that for humanitarian or that's just business?
Well, no, their government, their embassy is putting some stuff in. And you see some stuff on the road projects and stuff like that where we'll have stuff on different. No, I really don't have a good feel for what all's going on down there at this current time, but there are other countries down there working and helping Haiti out. I know that. Okay, Ghana Eves area. There's our EOC there. We are also on this site. We're building a fire station, which was with a separate contractor, and he's just getting started on it as well.
So do they have fire trucks that are just waiting for this? Where
No, that's right. We're not providing those, but actually LaFourier's already got money and got a follow-on project where they're going to buy the fire trucks for them and for the truck. And they're talking about what kind of, when you say fire truck, I don't think you're going to see a truck like we're used to seeing here, the big red trucks. They're going to have more. It's going to be like more like a little water truck with a pumper on it.
Hydrants like here, so.
Right. So they got to take the water back and forth, and the road condition is there. Most of the trucks that we got wouldn't last very long on the Haitian roads anyway.
The buildings already burned down.
Right. So they're talking now about exactly what kind of trucks they're going to provide, but Southcom is going to provide 2 trucks for each of the stations is the plan.
So it seems like Southcom could go shopping through Dermo.
They do send a lot of stuff down from Dermo. Like I say, a lot of the stuff we saw show up for the EOC, for the community centers and the medical clinics was from excess property. So.
Yeah, actually, the color money they use, one of the things it could be used for is excess property. They don't use the money, but the program, I should say, they can get excess property for free that otherwise DOD,
so they sent all, like I say, they brought these containers that just packed full of different stuff from excess equipment. Anything they thought they could use, they packed in there. And LaFourier was trying to sort it out and decided who was going to give what to and where it needed to go. Cap Haitian area, we've got a EOC DRW as well as the slabs for the fire station, which the building's not showing up yet. Fort Liberté is almost finished now. The one at the bottom you see is the fire station. We've got the taller bay for the trucks and the rooms. Hinch area projects, we get the 3 up there too, EOC, DRW, and a fire station.
The workers, are they locals?
Well, that's a good question. They had problems getting skilled workers local. All of the contractors hired as many locals as they could, but most of them are laborers. To get skilled workers, they had to pull people back from the States or go to the DR and find folks.
Like I saw the Israelis had a few contracts there. Would they mainly bring in Israelis to that?
Well, the managers they had down there was Israelis, but most of the workers were either from the DR, the States, or they used local Haitians for labor. So they basically did the same way everybody else had.
Kind of like our boss.
Now, our 2 Haitian firms, of course, one of them hasn't really started much work in the field, but GDG, the other Haitian firm, most all of their workers, of course, are Haitian because they're using.
What's the daily rate then?
I don't know we don't have any labor rates in here, so I didn't see them. Yeah, no Davis Bacon, so I didn't see any wage rates posted. But I know they just raised the minimum daily payment for manufacturing type workers to $6 a day. So you can imagine that's what, so they're probably not paying a whole bunch more than that, I would think.
Are they more prone to using equipment or using people when it comes to doing?
Well, a lot of the work I see down there, and not so much on our jobs, but a lot of it's by hand labor, because labor's so cheap down there. You'll see people, they'll pull up a dump truck, and there'll be people with shovels filling it up instead of having a loader. So you'll see, instead of having a rock crusher, you'll have a guy sitting on the side of the road, pick up a rock hammer, making gravel out of it. Just a lot of guys, and he gets paid by the pile, he does. So until he gets a certain size pile, you don't get paid. So yeah, a lot of labor stuff, because labor's fairly cheap. People don't have other jobs. They're willing to do a lot of stuff. But our contracts, they do use some equipment, and you can rent equipment down there. So just depends on what they're doing, really.
How are those secured at night, like bulldozers and stuff? I'd be worried.
All of our contractors, they hired security, and they keep 24/7 security on the site. And most of the time, they have at least the clusters, they had local folks they hired, they basically moved onto the site, and they just stayed there.
Was it armed security, some of them?
Some of them not. Most every place you go's got security down there. Like the place where I stayed, they had guards that stood out. Most all the grocery stores and stuff, they'll have guards out there. I don't know what percentage of the folks that are working are actually holding a shotgun down there, but a lot of them, because there's a lot of security. But not all the contractors that we had armed security on the site. They just had somebody there.
Is there any type of gun laws down there, or is it
not that I heard of.
just problem is finding one, I guess, is the biggest issue?
Right. And it looks like a lot of the ones they were carrying, they weren't well maintained. They kind of rusted, right? But I'm guessing they work. I don't know. Go ahead.
How difficult is it to go from one side to the other, like the American Republic?
Well, that's hard if you're carrying a weapon. I know that. Yeah, it's not that bad. A lot of our guys went over there. I didn't ever travel to the DR. But because I had a rental car while I was there, and they won't allow the rental cars to go from Haiti over into the DR, because I guess people were taking over there and they would never see them come back. So you couldn't drive your rental car over there, and that's one of the reasons I didn't go. So you have to fly, or you have to, if you're in a CD vehicle, I get a CD plated, which is diplomatic plates, you could get across, I guess. From what I hear, the border crossings weren't too bad. Sometimes it was really crowded, and of course corruption is rampant in both countries. So you might end up having to pay money to get it there. You might pay more to get out, So, but you can go. I mean, it's no problem getting there. But
did they willingly accept dollars?
Yes, people were glad to take. We're glad to take American dollars anytime.
So did they prefer that over the local currency?
I couldn't tell. I mean, they would usually take either. The transfer rates that you got for your money weren't always as good out in town. So I usually just carried goods and paid in the local currency. Yeah, goods or local currency. And they priced a lot of stuff in something called Haitian dollars over there, which they didn't have a Haitian dollar. It was a transfer rate. So you sometimes, the rates was, it was 40 goods per dollar, basically, or 42, but you rounded down to about 40 goods per dollar. It was 8 Haitian dollars per dollar. So sometimes you'd go get gas and it would be in Haitian dollars, and you have to try to figure out how many goods that was or how many American dollars you had to pay them to get it. But. Okay, so this gives you an overall for the total program throughout the country. I just kind of put them out, put dots with the different things on wherever we got them. But once again, it just gives you an idea that we got stuff everywhere.
Who decided, was it just Southcom? I guess the 4-star said, all right, we're going to build community centers, fire stations, and this. Who decided what we're going to build?
That's, oh, you want?
You go ahead.
Okay, I'll go with it. Well, I know when I was down there, they had all this HAP money. And I know the Joint Task Force, they were like, and the State Department as well, were like, what are we doing? What are we doing to help them out? So they decided, well, we need to put this money in place and do something. So they started looking at areas where people, because with all the problems they had in Port-au-Prince, people just started pouring into the country, because everything that you have to do in Haiti, almost to do anything, you have to go to Port-au-Prince. And Port-au-Prince was a mess. So they were looking at, one thing, getting some communities out away from there with some infrastructure so they could support some of this stuff. Like the EOC's DRW, so people wouldn't be coming there to do stuff. as well as they looked at areas where people were already going from Port-au-Prince back to their home country, so that where they saw people moving back to, they decided to do some of these projects in that area. Now, currently down there, the embassy and the USAID is kind of concentrating their efforts in 2 corridors. The northern corridor up here from Camp Haitian across to Fort Liberté in this area up here, because that's where the new Caracol Industrial Park is, and they're hoping for a lot of industrial expansion up there. And also down here from Port-au-Prince up to St. Mark. Well, most of our projects don't fall within those current ones. So the first thing, the new ambassador came in and she asked the same question: who decided where these go and why aren't they in my corridors? And I'm like, well, these were done before your corridors were even put in place to start with. And that's right.
Yeah, if I could add to that, I was pretty impressed because, quite honestly, I just expected kind of some mindless throwing money at the problem type of thing. But there was a very specific strategic plan, and it was this. They figured out within weeks after the hurricane that over 600,000 people immigrated out of Port-au-Prince after the quake to wherever. But they identified 4 main areas, and that's where they built the clusters at. Okay. And the strategic plan and all of it was to help build up those communities so that they don't move back to Port-au-Prince. So I was pretty impressed. I thought it was just
right.
It's kind of neat, the political of the day, hey, this is what I want, but it's more of a...
Right, yeah, it was. Yeah. And so that's why, you see most of them in either the Lakai, Jeremy, Gunna Eves area. That's because that's where they thought people were moving back to.
And that's exactly where most of them went, was Gunna Eves. So that's why 4 of the 8 clusters were in Gunna Eves.
Okay. Okay, we talked challenges. I think we've talked to some of these. These will be mostly pictures for y'all to look at. We can talk about some of them. But road conditions, driving in Haiti is probably the hardest thing that you got to deal with. That's the area here, this picture here. We were going through a small town there, and there's markets in the middle of the towns. And it shrinks the road down from almost where only one person can get through at a time, more or less a vehicle. And we met this big truck. And the guy that's in front of us, they first went nose to nose with the truck, and the truck driver got out, and the truck started rolling towards their car. And so these guys were, they were trying to climb out of the vehicle. But finally, that's how close we were trying to get through there. You can see, probably couldn't drop a feather through there.
So this is a stupid question. I guess if an accident happens, oh well, that's just life down there. You just go on.
Right. Yeah, the embassy usually says, because that's one of those things, if you're an American and you're involved in an accident, a crowd all starts to form, and you can get involved in pretty bad if especially if there's somebody hurt or so it's better. Usually they tell you if you feel threatened at all, just to go ahead and go.
I think it's one step above total lawlessness to make you feel because I don't know if you were in the job then, Dale, but early on one of our contractors had a car accident. And it was a fatality.
Yeah. I remember that.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, the report from that was they did call the police. Police did show up, and meanwhile they transported this person to a hospital. So, but everything else
being a money thing, right? They paid the.
Yeah, they ended up paid the fine. That's right.
The local enforcement said give us $4,000.
Yes. Okay.
And so it's smack of corruption stuff.
Right. But, and you can see the market, you go through there, people riding on top of the taps everywhere, and I got some more pictures of that. People on top of buses, road crossings that we had to make, just...
So the Ministry of Health does regular health inspections in the market, right?
Oh, yeah.
I'm sure, probably of all the street food, too.
They would tell us, don't drink.
Here's the Jeremy water crossing. To get to Jeremy, as I said, the roads are really bad from Lakai up, and this is one of the road crossings you have to when it rains, this is what you get. Some bright bus driver decided he was going to make it anyway. I think they said at least 25 people died in this accident. The only guy that got out.
It looks like the first thing, all the money needs to go to roads and infrastructure there.
Well, you'd think.
That's what I'm thinking. I mean.
Yeah, they need it.
Is there any type of future? I mean, I don't know.
Yeah.
Apparently, when that 20-year occupation, most of the major highways there today were built by the U.S. between 1915 and 1934. Because you're right.
Are the roads asphalt or gravel?
It depends on which one you're on. There are the main routes are a lot of asphalt with potholes, and the other ones are dirt with huge rocks on them. So. So you don't have really a problem speeding in Haiti. You don't see a lot of speeding down there. You can't go that fast. That's right. This one I put in just unusual means of transportation, things I saw while I was there. People, you see these little buggy, people pulling that stuff here. You know, this one's got a car on it. You see all kind of stuff they transporting. You get people hanging off everywhere. I've seen little kids run up and jump on the back of vehicles while they're moving, try crawling up the side. You get almost so many people that can't get it. You think you can't get another person on it.
That guy was actually pulling that.
Yep.
That's not a Photoshop thing? Did you really take that picture?
Yeah, I took that picture.
On the lower left?
Yeah.
Wow.
And see this one with the pig on it? They take things to market on a lot of motorcycle usage down there. I think we had one that had 4 goats tied on the side like saddlebags.
Live goats, right?
Yeah, I've seen
Live goats?
live goats. Yeah, they're all live when they take them to market. This one here, I think you see 4 or 5 guys on this motorcycle. The other day I saw one with 5 on it, actually. Topped that one. Just, you know, and of course they got no other way to get around except to pay the motorcycle guy to take them or they walk. So
that's
they
a
use
live
whatever
pig
they
on
can.
there, right?
That's a live pig going to market, yeah.
On which photo there?
Left there.
This guy.
Is the pig under the bananas?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, I guess.
You can
That's
see
his
his ears.
The pig.
No.
Oh.
And here are the goats. Yeah. So these are actually 4 goats, tied 2 to each side, riding down the
Get
road.
him not to move and squirm. That's what.
Tied up.
So.
But
so it's
Jade was saying, yeah, they're buying big time the whole time. They were noisy.
Probably got the snout right behind his exhaust pipe.
Probably.
It's probably actually dead now.
Yes.
No, he's resting on the.
That's right. That's right. Security issues. That's just a slide to talk about some of them. Like I say, the embassy does have it blocked off into red, yellow, and white zones down there. To get into, actually to go into yellow zone, you're supposed to take a LAV, an upgraded vehicle. Luckily, none of our sites so far have really been in the yellow zone, so we haven't had to try to worry with that. The red zone, if you go down there, you're supposed to take a security detail with you. You can drive through it, but if you're going to a location there, you're supposed to take a security
So
vehicle.
the LAV, was that just
A
bulletproof?
light armored
windows or
vehicle, light
small
armor.
arms?
Yeah, light armored vehicle. Usually an SUV with real thick glass on the windows, and
So we
I didn't like to drive them. I drove them a couple times, but
Dwayne, we didn't have projects in either of those, either red or yellow zone.
We do,
Sometimes had to drive through.
yeah, we have to drive through. Now, when we get started good on our Port-au-Prince site, which is in here, and our Carrefour site, they're both in the yellow zone. So
Now, is there a national police force, or does each department have its own police force?
it's national, HNP, National Police, yeah.
And obviously, it's corrupt.
It is. As a matter of fact, they just had a big scandal down there. There's actually, what, 20 or 25 families that basically, you know, have most of the power and the money in Haiti. And one of the guys that was running one of the car dealerships down there basically got locked up here a lot long ago. And I think he had like 30 or 40 police officers working for him. They were doing they were doing some kidnapping. So he would be kidnapping his friends' kids or whatever, and they were using the police to do it. So they were doing a lot of arrests down there within the last couple months right before I left on that. Cité Soleil is an area that you really don't ever want to go to, but I've ridden through it several times. It's one of the poor area. When the Duvaliers were down in the office, they took all the beggars and stuff that was downtown Port-au-Prince. They moved them into this area over here. It was basically a swamp area. The Cité Soleil and that whole area there is basically a big slum area. They say a lot of folks that get kidnapped stuff end up down there. There used to be a lot of gang activity in there, but I guess the MINUSTA cleaned a lot of that up now, but it's still a very high crime-ridden area, you know, like I say. And as you see, there's a good picture, and that's one we took of people burning tires in the street.
Can you talk about what happened with one of our contractors, that issue?
Oh, I can. Yeah, we had down in Jeremy, and this was really, you know, I'm not sure it was that big a security issue other than it was probably politically driven. Oh, it's Jack Mel. Did I say Jeremy? I'm sorry, Jack Mel. Yeah.
Wait,
down in Jack.
About the armed robbery, though?
No,
we've already talked about protests, right?
Okay.
Yeah, we had our fire station site down in Jack Mel was actually on a little park area there, and I guess one of the senators had promised to use that park for something else, Senator Lambert down there, and he actually approached us about buying some property from him to move it to, and we weren't really interested since we already had a title on it, but we had twice where we ended up having crowds gather and block the site from our contractors. And the second time we got word from the contractor that they had bottles and were fixing to start chunking bottles and stuff at them. Actually, I think it was a little bit overblown by the contractor, as it turned out. But we had them demobilized. We sent them a stop work order. We did a lot of stuff to try to keep them from getting hurt. And we just currently, and that one kind of settled down, especially after we kind of got everything worked out. We actually got the president's wife got involved with the senator, and they kind of settled everything down. And after that, everything kind of went smoothly down there. But this last week, we had up in Jeremy area, they had widespread riots up there. Well, I call them riots. They were burning tires. They even got to burning buildings and stuff. And it was over the issue of the road going up there. The Haitian government had started paving the road and doing some work on the road. I guess they had a falling out with the contractor. So the middle part of the road, which is the worst part of it, kind of got still not done. So I guess they were having riots and stuff up there to get attention to that. So our contractor called Don, his new Orange down there, and he pulled all his people out because he just didn't feel safe on it. So, but that kind of stuff can happen anytime, in any place, really, you never know. But all you can do is, and none of it's really been directly against us, except this one in Jack Mel, which was kind of politically driven.
The contractors we hire, are they experienced in, this type of contracts, or do we get a lot of new ones that, down there and do it?
I think most of them had worked in Haiti before, but
okay, so a big surprise.
No, it shouldn't have been to them. So.
They worked in other areas.
Yeah, they'd worked in other areas of the Caribbean. So, but it's hard. It's easy to say this can happen, and we did that in the pre-cons. We talked about it, how to be safe, how to pull back in and do stuff. But when it happens, all you can really do is hunker down and wait for it to stop. We talked about lack of sanitation, the malaria and cholera down there, lack of any health care facilities they've got. Like I say, Haiti is still definitely the poorest country in the Western Hemisphere. And some guy told me the other day it was approaching being the poorest country in the world. I don't know if that's true or not, but it's definitely third world conditions down there. Now to talk about a little bit about natural disasters. They've had earthquakes in all these years. So people that were surprised by the 2010 earthquake just didn't know the history down there. They've had earthquakes almost as long as we had keeping track of them down there. They had hurricanes. They have hurricanes frequently, and water down there because they got so many mountains. It rains up in the mountains. All the water runs down to the cities, and they get flooding almost every year. People dying from flooding. So that slide just kind of talks about some of those things. I put this one in, it just kind of interested me when I was down there. When we first drive into Port-au-Prince, which is the capital city, you run into all these different types of animals. And I've seen donkeys, I've seen goats, I've seen cows, and I'm not talking about 1 or 2 cows. I've seen 5 or 6 cows walking down major streets in Port-au-Prince. It's not like they have pastures they put them in there. They sometimes tie the ropes around their neck and they stake them out. Sometimes they let them free range. So you see pigs, you see lots of dogs, and all the dogs kind of look like that, about that size.
What stops someone from taking a cow or a pig?
I asked that same question myself. I said, how do they know who belongs to this pig? And the guy said, well, if it's not yours. That's what he told me. That's what I think. So he said, well, you know not to take it if it's not yours. So I'm assuming if you took somebody's that you might end up, I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. But that's the answer I got. You just know if it's not yours.
Also there's a lot of street justice down there. They just
I think so. But that's Janine down at our site. When we first went down, they had a donkey staked out, grazing on it. So.
So rabies is not a problem?
No, I haven't heard really about that much about rabies. I'm sure they probably get some cases, but that wasn't one of the things that we got briefed on or really talked about. So that's the birthing I talked about where I kind of lived. It's kind of like a little 2-bedroom apartment I had.
Step up from a tent there.
It was, yeah. So I didn't complain at all. I had internet service all the time. I had cable TV, so it wasn't that bad.
This is on the embassy compound?
This is Handel, actually. Now, the embassy rented the whole compound the first year I was there, but in October they decided they weren't going to rent it all, and it converted back to a regular hotel. So now not only the embassy folks can, but other folks can go in there as well. But the rate's basically the same, and the people are the same, and
have a defect, or you do your own cooking?
Yeah, I had the little kitchenette there, so I did a lot of my own cooking. And there's a little grocery store right next door to this one, run by the same family. And up in Patienville, if you drive up there, there's a Giant, there's a Caribbean market, which you could get most everything you can in the States. Just pay about 2 or 3 times the cost for it. But,
And you felt safe eating the groceries there?
Yeah.
Just imported in?
yeah, I did. You know, if you got something on the street, of course, they'd always say if it's fruit, you know, you'd want to peel it, or you know, you wouldn't want to eat stuff straight off because of the health concerns. But cooking it, you know, I didn't have any problems. And actually, I didn't get sick. That's right. But even Frank didn't get sick while he was there, did you, Frank? So that's good. Did you have problems when you got back? No problem. Well, good. All right, quality of life issues. These are some of the facilities we have over at the embassy. They got a little weight room there so you can work out. They got a lap pool you can use. They got a basketball court. They got an area where they play some soccer. So that, you know, some areas where you can do some stuff down there.
And all this was built in the 2008?
Mm-hmm. All part of the compound. Things to do while you're down there. There's some, you know, as I say, get away from Port-au-Prince. There's some nice areas there. There's some certain beaches going up through there. Club Indigo used to be a Club Med place. You got the Comer Block, which is up north, which is a really nice area. This is where I took the Captain Ops when they came down at Dan's Creek. You can go up in, if you don't like the beach, there's plenty of mountains. You can go up in Fursey, which is all the way up. There's a big pine forest up there, which I found interesting. And you could go up, they had a chalet type lodge up there. You can go, and I used to go up there quite a bit and eat lunch. Nice little ride up. If you know, roads weren't that great, but you could get there. Patienville's a big area, kind of the entertainment area around Port-au-Prince there, where a lot of the money is up there. They've got some nice restaurants up there you can go to, anything from French to, there's Lebanese food there, there's Chinese food there, you know, a lot of different types of restaurants.
Make it well through the earthquake?
Yep, there's, of course, the Montana, the big, one of the big hotels up there, all the Americans that got killed during the earthquake got killed up, they were staying up at the Montana, so they got some damage, but it's even reopening now for some stuff. Hang had the best burgers in town, so just some resorts up there. They had the Caribe, which is the big hotel up in Patienville right now. Like I say, come here. We talked about Dan's Creek. Just some more pictures of areas. So yeah, just to let y'all know that it's not all like I showed some of the horror pictures on it. Historic, if you like historic stuff, like I said, a lot of history in Haiti. That's a picture of the Citadel, which we went up and visited. I actually did the walk up there 3 different times myself, and it's a good little trek up the mountain because it's not like you can drive all the way up.
When was that built?
It was built, well, Henry Christophe was in power, so the early 1800s, 1820, something like that. And that was the palace he built. He built it, based it on a French palace, and he declared himself King of the North. So, and in its day, it was beautiful, they said. It got damaged like that in the earthquake itself. So, but if you ever get a chance to go to Haiti, this is one of the things you should definitely go up to see is the Citadel. Fort Jacques is right above Patienville on up in the mountain on the way to Fursey. It's another one of the forts they built to kick the French back out if they ever decided to come back, which they didn't. We did volunteer some work down there. When I was down there, I went up. They had several orphanages in the area, and went up to work with God's Littlest Angels, some up in up close to Fursey on the way anyway. And this was when we did Habitat for Humanity. The former president was down with his wife, and we went over and helped them build some stuff down for Habitat for Humanity. So Carter. Travel opportunities, like I say, just some more pictures of Haiti around the country. But you have to, like I say, you have to get out. A lot of people get stuck in Port-au-Prince, which is kind of a shame. And like I say, a little slide there, just more pictures saying better than I expected when I got there. And that's to actually show I was doing some work when I was over with Habitat.
Actually lifted a board.
One picture down here is of the Iron Market. That's kind of downtown Port-au-Prince. It got rebuilt. I think Digicel actually rebuilt that after their earthquake. They do a lot. It's a big downtown market for in Port-au-Prince. The guy climbing the the tree there, that's actually on the site down there over Jack Mill, EOCDRW site. All right. We say it was a great tour. I enjoyed it. Say you have definitely can see that you're doing positive things while you're there. You can see stuff coming up. You talk to the people. You can tell that they're really going to use them once we get them put in. I work with a lot of great people, both here and down there, and I was appreciative of the help I got. Like I say, we already talked about some of the challenges, coordinating everything, logistics, transportation down there is one of the biggest problems. You know, it's a very interesting country. I recommend anybody gets a chance to visit. But like I say, overall, it was a real positive experience for me, and I enjoyed it.